Hi, I'm Carter, and Pete's my daddy. I'm also listening to today's podcast, but first, check this out.
Yes, it absolutely takes a pretty daggum long time to figure out what you're doing in order to monetize something like a blog. It just does. That's bad news. But once you do it, it's kind of like riding a bike a little bit. So Do You Even Blog is only 14-ish months old. I made money in month one. It was not a lot, by the way, but I made money in month one. I made almost $10,000 last month, month 13, month 14, whatever. But I've been doing this for like 10 years on and off. I've had like 40 blogs. I've had like 40 plus online businesses that have failed for the most part. So don't think it's easy.
Alrighty, everyone. This is the Money Peach Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Peach, and I'm going to be bringing on some of the most amazing people I can find so they can tell you how they do their life and their money the right way. What's up, everyone? So often I hear people ask me, Peach, how do you get started doing a blog? And I've helped many people, but I thought this time I'm going to bring on a professional, Pete McPherson, founder of doyouevenblog.com. Pete has had his site now for a little over a year. He helps people on his site get started making their own blogs, get started helping them monetize them, building email lists, doing the things in the very beginning that you should be doing when you're monetizing or creating a blog as a business. And Pete's had tremendous success with it. Just kind of give you an example. In the first year of Pete's blog, he is now doing about $10,000 a month in revenue just from his blog. So without further ado, let me bring on Pete McPherson, founder of doyouevenblog.com, and we're going to be talking about blogging and how to get started. Alrighty, Pete McPherson, thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Pete, you are the founder of doyouevenblog.com, which I love. It's like, do you even lift, bro? You know, you hear that saying, so do you even blog? So we've known each other for a couple of years now, met at a conference, and I really like what you're doing. You are taking control of the market for people who are starting their blogs in that 0 to 24 month range, correct?
Correct. I wouldn't necessarily say I've taken control of the market. Maybe that's like several years off, but in general, yeah, that's what I'm aiming for.
Okay, so we're going to just jump right in here. But before we jump into the content of the show, you're Pete, you live in Georgia. Kind of give me a little background of how you got started in this space.
Yep, live in Georgia. I've lived in Georgia pretty much my entire life, a few different cities. The nice version of the story is I was always the kid that had no idea what he wanted to be when I grew up. Like I was funneled throughout school, like, oh, you need to go get good grades. Well, okay, check. I'm a smart guy. You need to go to college. I went to college. You need to get your master's. Eventually got my master's. Still had no idea what I wanted to do. And so that led me to kind of try everything. And about 2009, 2010, I started getting into blogging. Podcasting was kind of just becoming a thing. I listened to the Adam Carolla show and I was like, whoa, on earth is a podcast. Like, this is cool. I could do this. Didn't stick with it. I kind of bounced around all over the place, but that was the initial seed that kind of led me to what I'm doing now. Jack of all trades. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up, quote unquote. So that's been like the story of my life. That's what initially led me to doing stuff on the internet, if that makes any sense.
I'm on your site right now. I'm checking it out. Really nice site, by the way. But how did you get involved in blogging? And it's the reason why I asked this is I get asked this question all the time. You know, like, Chris, you're a full-time firefighter. How did you get into blogging? And I have my own crazy story. I feel like everybody has a story when it comes to actually blog, because what are you going to blog about? For me, I didn't even know what a blog was. So how did you find out about blogs and learn that, yes, blogging is fun, but you can also generate substantial income from running a blog?
I didn't discover the income until much later, but my initial story doesn't disappoint either. Totally the result of a bad breakup with an ex-girlfriend. I went from having like a lot of stuff to do, and I had a girlfriend, and life was lovely. It wasn't actually lovely, but it kind of felt lovely at the time. And then we split up, and I moved towns, literally moved, and started my master's degree, and life all of a sudden just like switched. Life looked this way, and then it looked that way, something completely different. And I found myself literally searching for people to talk to via the internet. Like I didn't know anybody in this town, not a single friend, so to speak. I was conducting everything online. This was like in early-ish days of Facebook as well. And it's at that point where I was like, I need an outlet. I need an outlet for creativity. I need an outlet for just stuff I want to say. Because right now I'm not saying it to anybody. I don't have any friends yet. I made them eventually, but I didn't have any right then. And so I knew enough about the internet to kind of realize that blogging was a thing, even though I didn't actually follow any other blogs. But that breakup and not having anybody to talk to, literally, made me create my first blog, which was just a journal. That's it. But yeah, you know what? I bet everybody does have those stories, and that's mine. Bad breakup.
So it's funny, that's really what a blog started as. It started as just kind of like people journaling their thoughts in order. It was like a website without any purpose except for there was articles on there and you could just put your thoughts on there. And this is going back to like the early 2000s at the very start of blogging. And now we've seen this, I think what put bloggers, I hate to say that word because I know they hate being called this, but I think just for purposes of people understanding the terms, I think what put bloggers on the map was mommy bloggers. And here's the power in blogging. I was just reading this book the other day. It's called Contagious. And we'll put links in the show notes to that book. But I was reading this book and it talked about how a bunch of mommy bloggers actually almost took down the company Motrin. And this was back in the mid 2000s. There was this big push where people were going to be carrying around their babies like in a, I guess like, I don't want to say wear your babies, but it was a big like movement where women were putting like harnesses on or whatever. And they were like carrying their babies to work and they were walking around. And it was mother and baby were becoming closer together. It was a health thing. And there was a big movement. So Motrin came along and said, wait a second, this is perfect because these women are going to be walking around. They're going to have back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. So let's encourage them to keep walking around and holding their babies everywhere they go. And we'll say Motrin's there for you. And what happened is they used the wrong word. They used the word that said, we're there for you when you wear your baby. And all of these mommy bloggers went to the internet and started saying, how dare you say that our babies are fashion statements? And anyway, Motrin didn't pay much attention to it because at first it was like, oh, they're just a bunch of mommy bloggers. Well, now all of a sudden they're starting to see a dip in revenue in Motrin and they actually pulled the ad. And I think when I read that, I was like, holy cow, that was like the first big powerful movement in blogging where it wasn't just like a little fun thing that a bunch of women got together and talked about their days. This was now business. It was a movement. And now I see someone like you who is taking that a step further and saying, okay, do you even blog? Now we're to the point 2018 where do you have a blog? Because if you don't have a blog and you have a business or you have some kind of revenue stream and you don't have a blog associated with it, you're behind.
Yeah, totally. And not only a blog, but also a podcast, a YouTube channel, even just like a Tumblr account. Are you on even just like social media by itself, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram? The speed at which communication happens nowadays, and this has been going for like a decade now, but there is extreme power in that. And yes, there's like a ton of bloggers in every niche and every topic and, just a million mommy bloggers out there probably, but there is still great power for any business, and I'd argue any person, to leverage this new communication. And by new communication, once again, I mean like social media, podcasts, YouTube, blogging, etc. I think there's still, in 2018, a lot of power there.
I agree. And I think blogging, I still think we're early on in it. And it's crazy to think that because I attended a podcast conference. You were there too. The podcast conference is really trying to push like, hey, you should start a podcast. Blogging it's already outdated, right? Which I don't agree with at all. But if I was running a podcast conference, I'd probably say the same thing. The podcasting conference is saying, look, there are 400 million blogs out there. There's 525,000 podcasts. Why are people starting blogs? I'm thinking, well, yes, there's 400 million blogs out there, but are they active, right? There might be a bunch of .coms and a .nets out there that the blogs are taking up space, but how many are really active? But with that said, I meet people all the time that are like, actually, I was getting my haircut right before this interview. I was getting my haircut and she was asking me what I did. And I told her, and she's like, I've always wanted to start a blog about like stories I've heard in the chair cutting hair. And I'm like, that's a really good idea. And she said that she heard about it. She heard something like that, like a flight attendant started a blog on, stories from the air or something like that. And so I thought, well, you should start a blog. I said, that'd be a great idea. She goes, I don't even know where to start. And I was like, it's so funny you mentioned that. I'm actually getting ready to interview a guy who helps people from idea, month zero, to creating a blog, generating income, building it the right way. So here's what I'm going to ask, Pete, is for those of us listening out there and want to start a blog or maybe have an idea and think, I just don't know where to start. I don't even think it would be possible. What would you say to them? Where would they start?
So I would say this is going to be like a non-answer at first, but I'm coming around to a really good answer, I promise. The non-answer would be, it depends on what your goals are. So a lot of people see other bloggers making money, and that's why they decide to get into it. Totally cool, by the way. I don't actually judge those people whatsoever. They just need to have the right expectations of this might not be as easy as you think, starting a blog specifically to make money. Totally doable. Don't get me wrong. It's not as easy as people might think. That's one type of person. The other type of person is what you mentioned. The flight attendant who thought it would be fun to share stories, the barber who wants to share stories from the chair. First of all, I think those are amazing, by the way. I think that's so fun. Those people, this is the answer I think you were looking for. My advice would be to start today. And if you spend any more than an hour starting, you've done it wrong. Now, most people don't know how to do that, but I'm going to tell you right here. You can go to blogger.com, completely free. It's kind of a lame platform for anybody who's been blogging, but it is a platform that is so dead simple to start. There's no excuse for anybody starting. It can be overwhelming once you start getting into WordPress and hosting it on your own site and monetizing and showing up ads and email list building and just, oh my God, Chris, like a million things. Most people realize this. What I would tell those people who are thinking about starting, going from idea to stuff on the page, is start today in an hour for free. Blogger.com, medium.com is where I would recommend people start. Or hey, WordPress.com. That's another free, totally free thing. I would just tell them to start. That's it. I know that's like a lame thing to suggest to people, but seriously, don't fret about all that overwhelming crap that I just mentioned. Start today on medium.com, blogger.com, or WordPress.com and start writing. You can figure out the rest as you go along, but start writing now. That's going to take away 90% of the roadblocks to having your own blog.
Question 2 I have then. So, obviously, I think many people listening to this podcast, they are looking to, generate some income on the side, maybe use some income to pay off debt, maybe just have enough income to pay an extra mortgage payment or whatever it might be. So with blogging, I get asked this all the time is they're like, hey, Chris, can you really make good money blogging? I said, of course you can. But I always follow it up with, but it doesn't happen overnight. So what is a good time frame? Like I'm on your site right now. I mean, I think you've done extremely well here. 13 months you've had a blog, is that right?
This blog. I think it's important to remember, this is going to answer your question. We'll come back. Yes, it absolutely takes a pretty daggum long time to figure out what you're doing in order to monetize something like a blog. It just does. That's bad news. But once you do it, it's kind of like riding a bike a little bit. So Do You Even Blog is only, 14-ish months old. I made money in month 1. It was not a lot, by the way, but I made money in month 1. I made almost $10,000 last month, but I've been doing this for like 10 years on and off. I've had like 40 blogs. I've had like 40 plus online businesses that have failed for the most part. So don't think it's easy is what I'm trying to say by looking at Do You Even Blog standards. But no, you're absolutely right. It does take a while.
So here's what I would say to that though. There's no such thing as a get-rich-quick scheme. I promise you. There's going to be people who do get rich quick. They're few and far between. Do not count on that. There's no such thing as a get rich quick. But there is a get rich slow method. And I truly believe in this because I've seen it over and over and over again. Our blog, Money Peach, when we started it, we didn't make any money, I think, for the first 6 months because I didn't even know how you could make money. I just liked blogging about personal finance. It was like my niche. You obviously went into a different mentality because you knew what blogging was. So like you said, you have had some failures before. So month 1, you made money. 13 months later, 14 months later, you make almost $10,000 a month, which, by the way, congratulations, that's tremendous.
Thank you.
The thing about blogging is it's so scalable. Once you start figuring out how to generate income in a blog, it's scalable from there, meaning you can put in the same amount of effort month in and month in and month in, and your income goes up because of the scaling. You never stay flat. For example, if you wanted to make $20,000 a month, you could, Pete, with putting in the same amount of consistent effort, not doubling your effort each month, right? And there's so many different ways to monetize with your blog. Why don't you share with us some of the ways that you monetize on your blog?
Okay. So I do not serve any ads whatsoever on my own blog, only because I personally hate ads. So that one's out. I'm not totally against ads. I think it's an amazing monetization method for people who are starting to ramp up traffic. This is monetization 101. This is the very basic one, serving up ads. If you blog for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and your traffic is starting to ramp up, by all means, serve ads. Affiliate marketing would be monetization 102. You could just Google affiliate marketing. There'll be a billion search results. You can learn exactly what that is, but it's basically selling other people's products via your own blog, and you take a small referral commission, quote unquote, off the top if one of your readers clicks through your link and purchases the product. So I do some affiliate marketing on my own site. It's very small. It started out maybe $10, $50 a month for the first 6 months. Now it's starting to ramp up a little bit as my own traffic increases to around $300 a month, 400, 500. It's very passive, meaning I'm not actively trying to sell anything. People are clicking through affiliate links from past posts. That's very nice. It is a semi-passive income at this point in my blog. Monetization 103, my personal favorite, only because I think it is the most lucrative long-term, would be selling your own products, specifically digital products. This could be anything from an online course, PDF that you charge people for, blog sponsorships, maybe you could lump that in as well. Your own products that you create and you sell to other people. It's extremely hard. No one's going to learn sales and marketing and product creation overnight. Those of you listening to this are like, hey, that sounds like me. But on the other hand, for people who are willing to put in the effort and the time and energy it takes to like learn this and execute on it, those are the bloggers that are making like $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, et cetera, et cetera. They all have their own digital products, online courses, stuff like that. So personally, that's my answer to your question. Monetization 103, I prefer going the product route because I think I'm good at creating products and I know how to sell them at this point. So you're absolutely right. There's lots of leverage there. 6 months from now, I'm going to do the same exact product launch that I did last month when I made 10K. And it's not going to take me any more time. It's going to look exactly the same, but my audience is going to be that much bigger. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that leverage will create, I don't know, $20,000, $40,000. Who knows? But you're absolutely right. Leverage is definitely there.
I'll give you kind of a history of how Money Peach started. In 2015, we started a blog, and I went to a conference, and I had all these great ideas about launching a product, and our product was an online course called Awesome Money Course. Mm-hmm. So we launched that course, and I started building it in June. This is the amount of work that has to go into it, right? I started building it in June, and it was ready for launch the week after Christmas. So it was a good, 6 months of putting this course together. And by the way, during this entire time, I am not making any money putting a course together because I haven't sold it yet. Mm-hmm. But remember, I wasn't getting traffic either. The traffic was very, very low because I was new. I only had a few posts on the site. There wasn't a lot of traffic. When I mean not a lot of traffic, I would say, I don't know, maybe 5,000 to 10,000 page views a month max, maybe even less than that. So when we got to December, I had a pretty good following. I've been consistently putting out great content, responding to emails, kind of what I say was going in the trenches. Like it was very personal, one-on-one, because I didn't have a lot of traffic. I had time. If people asked questions, I would answer that. And I loved doing it. And we had a really successful launch. I think when we launched Awesome Money Course, it was just over $10,000. And, people were like, oh my gosh, you just made $10,000 in like a 72-hour launch. I was like, no, not really. I made $10,000 from June to December because that's how long it has taken to build that. Now, fast forward to 2018, we've updated the course. We're actually going through a course update right now, but the content's always been the same, right? We've changed out the graphics, we've updated it. But the point is just to your point is we've had that revenue stream now month in and month out for the past 3 years. So the point of blogging, what I was going back and saying is we put all this effort into the front end. We maintain the effort. We didn't double the effort. And every month we generate income from our course. Mm-hmm. And you can rinse and repeat that. You can do that with multiple courses. We've seen lots of bloggers do multiple courses. And I think that's a great way to start generating income. And it doesn't have to be digital. It could be anything, right? You could sell a physical product. I think digital is easier. Not easier. I think it's more efficient. But I have a friend who sells a physical product and he scales it by, he outsources the product design and then somebody builds it and then he just sells it. It's kind of like a drop shipping type method. And he does really well with that as well. The back end of that is as you're growing your audience, then you can start making more money with like affiliate marketing and ad revenue if you do that. But that takes time because it takes traffic. You have to have gobs of traffic to generate real income. What I mean, like a livable income from that kind of monetization strategy. So I love how you said your favorite is actually 103, creating a product.
Yep.
Hey guys, I just wanted to pause and take a second to say thank you from me to you for listening to and supporting the Money Peach podcast. Without listeners like you, this show definitely would not be possible, so thank you. You know, the number one question that I receive is this: Peach, I just don't know where to start when it comes to my money. You know, so many of us out there are living paycheck to paycheck. We have tons of debt. We're not making any headway. We can't save any money. We want to go on a freaking vacation where we pay cash for it. Oh, and let's talk about retirement savings and kids' college planning on top of that, right? Where do you start? Well, that's why we created the cash flow formula. The cash flow formula is the same system that Andrea and I used to pay off $52,000 in debt in only 7 months. And the best part is it's 100% free, meaning we are going to send you the free tools and a free lesson on how to set up your own cash flow formula. So to get started, go over to getcashflowformula.com. That's GET cashflowformula.com. Once again, head on over to getcashflowformula.com to get your free copy and your free lesson on how to get started the right way. All right, guys, now back to the show.
So I'm going to go back and just say something that's been on my mind for like the past 30 seconds. I want to tell you, Chris, and everybody listening to this, how my first 40 plus online businesses / blogs failed. I mean, don't get me wrong. A few of them made money, but they're not around today. So I consider them, learning opportunities / failures. But the only reason, the big overwhelming reason why all of those do not exist today and why they failed miserably in some cases was because I gave up on them way too early. I am totally type A. I'm driven. I am the fastest worker I know. Like, that's my big strength. I am super, super fast in software, in hardware, in strategy, in executing. That's what I do. I ship, so to speak. So the only downside of that is I really suck at long-term planning. And when I started all these blogs and businesses, I was looking for like, boom, quick turnarounds, fast cash. I'm going to make it big. Like 3 months later and I'm not making any money. Like, what the heck? I'm ditching this. I'm gone. On to the next thing. Shiny object syndrome. That was me for 5 years more before I started doing blogs. 6 years, 7 years. I have no idea. I quit way too soon. Last story I'll tell on this. I ran a personal finance blog for about a year and a half. I put lots of effort into it for about 4 or 5 months. I wasn't seeing the traffic growth. I wasn't seeing my email following growth. I wasn't seeing money at all. So I kind of stopped, right? And then I looked at my Google Analytics like 3 months after that. I literally hadn't posted anything in 3 months. I was about to quit it, just like literally delete the website. And I was like, wait, I'm getting like several hundred views a day now. I was getting like 5 views a day. Like, what's going on? What happened? It turns out I ranked number 2 for passive income in Google. It was like the only thing I was ranking for, by the way. But I just happened to be ranking for a really excellent keyword, thousands and thousands and thousands of views a month. And I had no idea because I'd already quit. Like, I was done. This is not working. I'm going to shut it off. I checked like 4 months later. And if I'd kept with it, man, I could have grew it nicely. But little word of warning to anybody thinking about this or online business, Chris is right. It takes a lot of time. That's all.
It takes time. And I have a guy that's helped me grow my business. I call him like my mentor. And I remember one of the things, the takeaways that's always stuck with me over the last couple of years is this. He said, Chris, there are so many people that get to 211 degrees and they stop, they quit because they didn't realize they were only 1 degree away from boiling. Meaning, kind of using that metaphor that water boils at 212 degrees. And he said, people who quit at 211, they never realized how close they were and they never will. And I always keep that on my mind. Anytime we're creating a new product, which we're getting ready to do right now, anytime we are looking to build traffic or rank for something in Google, or like right now we're going through a big rebrand on our course, it's a lot of work. And it's like the dog days of summer. Sometimes you're just working and working and working and working and you're like, is this going to even work? And the point is, I don't know, right? I don't know if it's going to work. I hope That's so. Right. I hope that I'm getting better at finding out what works and what doesn't. But part of, I think, anything, especially the online business, is you cannot give up. You have to try it. And if it doesn't work, all that means is now you can say, okay, now I know one less thing that doesn't work and I'm closer to something that does work.
Yes.
Keep that in mind. I mean, 40 blogs, right? Is that what you said?
Probably like 48 or 49 at this point. Yeah, a lot.
And do you even blog is it, right? That's the takeaway there. So
that is, yeah, it's the longest I've ever worked on any one project, by the way, which is kind of sad because it's still only 14 months in, but yeah, that shows you who I am.
14 months in, but you had a ton of failure. But look at this, Pete. I mean, you're making close to $10,000 a month, and you're only going to go up from there. That's a 6-figure business in 14 months. Think about how many people out there don't like their jobs. They're not going to ever get a raise. If they get a raise, they're going to get like a 1% raise, which they're not even going to feel, and they feel stuck. I mean, Pete, you're the person they're listening to going, wow, if he could do it, I can do this too. And the fact is, Pete, is you help people for free on your blog on how to get started.
Correct.
Where do we go? I mean, doyouevenblog.com, but tell me about, like, for our listeners, if they have an idea about starting a blog, what's the next step with you?
So with me, I was about to say, well, I'll just promote my own stuff. So 2 weeks ago, I actually revamped my homepage right there, doyouevenblog.com. It was like really hard to navigate. Now there is a very specific funnel. It's right there on the homepage. You scroll down a little bit, you'll see it. And it asks you like, okay, what do you need help with? You are already a blogger. You would look for more information on monetization. I gotcha right here. I wrote a 9,000 word article on this. It's comprehensive. It took me weeks and weeks and weeks to make. Boom, it's right there. If you are literally brand new, as in you do not have a website, you don't have a domain name, all you have is maybe an idea, it's right there on the homepage. It says, I'm looking for help with starting a blog. It's a very overdone subject, in my personal opinion, but I spent a lot of time on that article. It's about 11,000 words. It's completely overwhelming if you were to try and do it in one sitting, but I've broken it up like step by step into different, steps, to be quite frank. And part of the reason I just want to point people to the homepage is I think it's all right there. There's 2 or 3 more of those funnels. I literally ask the questions like, okay, what do you need help with? Do you need help with starting a blog? Here. Monetization? Here. Email list building? Here. Here are my best podcasts on SEO. Here are my best podcasts on Pinterest. I revamped this. I spent a lot of time doing this like 2 weeks ago. So I just got to point people there. You can get funneled into what you need help with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I really like there is some humor on this blog too. I'm going through it and you got to check it out. There's something about your hair. Nice hair, Pete. Yep. What's that you say? You're not getting enough email from people? I like that too. So it is funny because you're kind of making fun of the typical blogger stereotype out there, but it's awesome. You got a clean site. It's very easy to navigate. I would just say, Pete, you've kind of built yourself a niche as the go-to guy for people who are looking to start a blog. I know when somebody asks me like, hey, Peach, can you help me start a blog? I say, nope, but Pete can. So head on over there. Check out doyouevenblog.com. If if you don't have anything to write down with, you're not at your desk now, don't worry. We're going to put links in the show notes. So head on over to the show notes after the show, and we'll have links to Pete's site, his blog, his podcast. And man, you got some really great resources on here. I'm overly impressed. And Pete, congratulations. I know you put in so much work. We didn't even talk about your story. I mean, you and your wife having to literally live off of nothing for a couple of months when you get laid off to start this. But again, I think sometimes when your back's up against the wall, that's when you make magic happen. So Pete, thank you so much for coming to the show, man. Really glad to have you on. I know that people are going to get a lot of value out of this. And if they don't, just go to Pete's email or click on Contact Pete and let him know you're not. No, I'm just kidding.
No, seriously. Hang on. Let me stop you. Seriously, I am what you mentioned you were like a year or two ago, where you didn't have a whole lot of traffic yet. And so you had time to engage with every follower that you do have. So at the moment, I'm not super, super huge. I'm not Pat Flynn, Darren Rouse level. Those are meta bloggers that are way ahead of me. So I answer every email that people send me. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there on your podcast, pete@doyouevenblog.com. If you're seriously interested and you are not sure and you weren't helped by my homepage, seriously email me. It's not a big deal. I respond to everyone. I'll just say that. Right
on, Pete. That's cool. Hey, thank you, my friend, for coming on the show. And we'll have you back on maybe a year from now to see what you're up to, what your growth is like, and we can compare show to show. Sound good?
Dude, I love it. I love it, man. Thanks for having me on.
And just like that, we wrap up another amazing episode of the Money Peach podcast. All the show notes, the links, anything that Pete and I talked about can be found over at moneypeach.com/session111. That's moneypeach.com/session111. Special thanks goes out to my producer, Steve Stewart, and my assistant, Kayla Sloan. Without them, this show would not be possible. And lastly, just want to say thank you once again from me to you for listening to and supporting the show. And the best way that you can help us support the show is by going in your podcast app and leaving us a comment, leaving us a review. The more comments, the more reviews, the more ratings we have for the show, the more we're going to be found, and the more you are going to be part of helping it grow. Once again, thank you guys so much in advance. Have a great week, and God bless you.
Boom, da-ba-doom, boom, da-ba-doom.